Today we're talking about what drug trafficking means in Oklahoma. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the next video on this topic. As most drug trafficking arrests are a result of a drug interdiction stop on an interstate, the contact between law enforcement and the person driving that vehicle and in that vehicle is a crucial moment in your case. When law enforcement makes contact with the motorist, they have seized that person and stopped their movement. There are constitutional rights that we all have for when we interact with law enforcement, and it's important you keep your rights in mind when you're speaking to police. It is important that you not offer more information than required. It is important that you ask, am I being detained or am I under arrest? It is important that you refuse to answer questions that may result in you inculpating yourself or another, or by incriminating yourself or giving information that may be spun by a prosecutor or heard by a jury to mean something more than you intended it to mean. If you have been stopped by law enforcement on a drug interdiction stop or under suspicion of having drugs in your possession, it's important that you keep in mind that you have rights and that you do everything you can to protect them. However, if you are taken into custody and arrested by law enforcement, that is not the day and time to tell your story. It is important that you work with experienced criminal defense attorneys to assist in presenting your case and building your defense. It is not the time to speak to law enforcement by yourself in the intense and scary situation of just being arrested under a serious allegation such as drug trafficking. This is something law enforcement will encourage you to do. They'll encourage you to tell your story, to explain what's going on, that they may be willing to help you. Keep in mind, law enforcement has the right to lie to you during the process of that investigation. It is important that you work with experienced defense counsel to decide if and when it is in your interest to speak to law enforcement. However, if you've been arrested for drug trafficking in the state of Oklahoma, an important thing to keep in mind is that the drugs must be connected to you in order for the government to have a case. Now, drug trafficking is the possession of drugs at a sufficient weight to turn it into drug trafficking. There is no intent element for drug trafficking in the state of Oklahoma. There's nothing that must be shown about what you're attempting to do or not attempting to do. All the government must show is that you knowingly and intentionally possessed the requisite weight of the drugs in question. Now, there's really two ways that possession takes place in our state. There's actual possession, where you're holding onto something or it's in your immediate area, which is typically uncommon in drug trafficking cases. There aren't many people that are driving down the interstate with 10 pounds of marijuana in the passenger seat or a comparable drug. Constructive possession is the most common issue in drug trafficking cases. And what constructive possession means is that you have, one, the ability, and two, the intent to control the disposition of an object. Now, all that lawyerese means that you have access to the location the drugs are at and you have authority or dominion over them. So this is a serious question of fact. If you're driving a vehicle and drugs are found hidden in between car seats or hidden under the tire or in a hidden location inside the vehicle, you are not automatically guilty of drug trafficking for being the driver of that vehicle. The government must link you to those drugs and show that you constructively possess them. You had knowledge, ability, and intent to control them. This is another reason why it's so important that you not speak to law enforcement and incriminate yourself at the scene, but speak to an experienced drug trafficking defense attorney.